New Right Option podcast. The 49ers beat the Giants on Sunday in the Meadowlands, but we're about 30 minutes away from the NFL trade deadline. We'll see if the Niners make a move. Jason Aponte, hit the music.
Burnt. Burnt.
New Spirit Right Option podcast. Jason Aponte, Andrew Pasquini, as always. As I said, this is trade deadline episode. We haven't had a chance to talk about the 49ers versus Giants yet, so we'll do a little bit of coverage on that. But if the Niners make a move here at the trade deadline, we'll obviously interrupt the review of the Niners Giants game to talk about the trade. You want to talk about some of the trades that have already happened today, Jason Aponte, because it's been a very active trade deadline. Obviously, last night there's a trade. The Ravens acquired Draymond Jones from the Titans. That's a name that the Niners were interested in a couple years ago when he was available as a free agent. But then today, all hell is kind of broken loose, especially with the New York Jets. The Indianapolis Colts trade 2 first-round picks to go get Sauce Gardner from the Giants. The Cowboys trade a first and a second to go get Quinnen Williams, which was a maybe target for the Niners, maybe not. Depends what you want to think about. And then the trade that really affects the NFC West, Rashid Shaheed goes from the Saints to the Seahawks, which is another weapon for that offense that's really been doing well up in the Pacific Northwest. So, Jason, I think the obvious answer is the Sauce Williams trade or the Sauce Gardner trade, kind of combined two Jets players. Their Sauce Gardner trade. What trade has caught your eye the most here?
Yeah, that Sauce trade is look. I think the Jets would have been fools to turn down 2 first-round picks, but it's obvious that the Colts feel like they have a chance to go ahead and make a run, and I like it. When Charvarius Ward comes back, Sauce Gardner and Charvarius Ward, that's already been a formidable defense. So the Colts still feel like they have a shot. That's cool, but I think if you're the Jets, yes, you extended Sauce Gardner, but if they're sending 2 first-round picks and they're going to pick up the bill, I think it's a no-brainer. So I thought that was the one that was really interesting because that's the one that really pushes a team into the Super Bowl contending spot. I like Rashid Shaheed. I think he's gonna, cause problems for Seattle's offense. I mean, for Seattle's opponents and stuff like that. But I don't think that makes them Super Bowl contenders. So I think it's the Sauce Gardner one, and then Quinnen Williams. He's a great player and he's a great defensive tackle, but Cowboys defense still sucks, so it doesn't really matter. That doesn't move the needle.
They went out and got who was the player they got last night, Jason? The linebacker from the Bengals. I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, Wilson. They go out and get him. Not a very good, not a bad look because obviously they make a couple of trades, but they give up 27 points to the Cardinals last night on a day where Jerry Jones teased the big trade, and obviously it's Wilson and Williams for the Cowboys. Yeah, the Shaheed trade is an interesting one. I don't know if it launches them to Super Bowl favorites or anything like that, but it definitely helps that offense.
We talked about formidable.
Yeah, we talked about it quite a bit when the Niners played the Saints. His ability to stretch the field vertically, I think that only helps with the spacing for Jackson Smith and Jigba. And then the Sauce Gardner trade, man, I see a lot of people saying this the Colts overpaid with 2 first-round picks, and that might be true because of the positional value. But that's a move where that's a team that I think has decided that they have some sort of Super Bowl window, whether or not that's realistic or not with Daniel Jones as your quarterback. Mm-hmm. But it's a trade you go make when you don't expect those first-round picks to be exactly high first-round picks. And they go out and get one of the best cornerbacks in football. I love that trade. I love when teams, kind of like what the Rams did a few years ago with the fuck those picks, that whole thing. I like it when teams blow up picks to go get a superstar player to try and take that next step. And the Colts are certainly in that area at 7-2. To try and attempt to make that next step. They have the key pieces already. Might as well go get another one.
Yeah, and I think that firmly tells you what they feel about Daniel Jones. You don't sacrifice first-round picks if you're not committed to the quarterback. So, I think it's pretty interesting that right now that they look like, they're going for it, and then you look at that wide receiver room, Alec Pierce and obviously Pittman and Downs and Tyler Warren and Jonathan Taylor, that offensive line, they're loaded. So I understand why the Colts are doing what they have to do, especially considering that this year I think they're gonna pay like $926,000. So yeah, I mean, but Sauce on one side with Charvarius Ward on the other, man, that defense was already tough, man. And you know what? I like when teams go all in. If I was a fan of the Colts, I'd be very happy right now.
Yeah, that's it's going to be exciting to see how how it works out for the Colts for the rest of the season. And I mean, you get Sauce Gardner for another few years as well. So I mean, that alone is worth the first round picks to me. Is that you get a few years of Sauce Gardner. So I'm excited to see how that works. I'm also excited to see how the next 23 and a half minutes transpire as the San Francisco 49ers clock's kind of running out. I am sitting at a point, Jason, where I think I would prefer them to just hold.
Yeah.
Uh, Jermaine Johnson is fine. The Achilles injury from last season concerns me a bit. I don't know if you want to add a player with an injury history, and I know it's an Achilles, it's a huge one, to a team that's injured a lot. Bradley Chubb would be fine. But I'm very, very curious to see if the Niners do anything. I've honestly, man, I've Jedi mind tricked myself and to bring Debo back. Why not? Javi got in my head there, Jason Aponte. So we'll see what happens here over the next 2 dozen minutes about. So we'll see what happens. But Jason, let's talk about that Niners Giants game, a game that I know you were very excited about. We did the instant reaction. I believe you were in some sort of, I'm going to call it a suite, Jason Aponte. You were in a
American Dream Mall.
Oh, American Dream Mall, whatever. I tried to make it sound fancier, but Jason was excited for the Niners win over his hometown New York Giants. The Niners moved to 6-3 with the 34-24 win over the Giants. Let's go through each positions kind of as we do, Jason, and then if we need to, we'll break away. Mac Jones, 19 for 24, 235 yards, a pair of touchdowns. I thought it was one of Mac Jones' better games. I thought he looked fine. No mistakes. Obviously, the perfect first half. Did not throw an incomplete pass until I think the 14-minute mark in the third quarter. But that's just what you want to see from Mac Jones, man. And now you kind of it's getting weird with the Brock Purdy situation with certain things that Kyle Shanahan said after the game. Don't know exactly the timeline there, but shocker, Jason, we don't know the timeline on an injured 49er. That rarely happens. But Jason, what do you think about Mac Jones' game?
I thought he was great, man. And again, it started out so well, but obviously the Giants defense is nothing to write home about, so we want to make
Yeah.
sure we say that. But I thought he was great, and to get Jordan Watkins his first catch, even get Jawan Jennings involved. Mac's been great, man, and he deserves a lot of credit for what he's been able to do. This 49ers team is not 6-3 clearly without him.
Yeah, nothing really stood out about his game. It was just solid. It was overall a solid game.
That's what he's been all year.
And that's all you could ask for from a backup. I mean, Jason, we're used to talking about backups. He's got to be backup one of the past 5-6 years of the 49ers backup quarterback situation, with how he's done, and only losing 2 games with him as your starting quarterback has been a very, very good thing for this 49ers team. I mean, he's a big reason we're still sitting here talking about the Niners potentially making a trade, because he's been able to keep them afloat. If he's been anything worse than what he's been, it's probably a boring trade deadline because the Niners might be sitting at 4-5 or something like that. So huge, nice game for Mac Jones. Nothing really to brag about. Where this game really was won for the 49ers was the run game. 39 rushes for 159 yards as a team. Christian McCaffrey, 28 for 106. He's well on the way to win 1,000 season, which is pretty cool to see, especially with how, I don't want to say poor his running ability has been this season. It hasn't been his best season on the ground, and it's really funny to go look at Underdog posted the list of top 10 rushers in the NFL right now, and Christian McCaffrey has the most carries out of them, with the second fewest amount of yards, 596, right ahead of Bijan Robinson. But the longest run is the really fun thing to look at, because his longest run came on Sunday, which was 16 yards. The next closest long run to him is J.K. Dobbins, 41-yard run. So Christian McCaffrey hasn't exactly been explosive this year, but he's just been getting the ball so much to where he's racking up yardage. Really more impressive in the pass game than the run game. But he got 106 yards once again, 100 yards for the second time this season. Pretty decent game for Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, he looked good. And this is exactly what they should have done. I mean, this Giants defense awful, especially against the run. So, this is exactly what the game plan was going to be. And for anybody who's like, oh well, they should be doing that. Yeah, they should be, and that's why you should just chalk it up as that, right? Like I don't want to hear like, oh, it's just the Giants defense. Oh well, when you have an advantage, take advantage of it and
Mhm.
don't let the game get close. So that's it. That's exactly what the 49ers did. Brian Robinson is probably pushing his way to get more carries, but it's
Yes.
not gonna happen. Kyle Shanahan will never get him off the field, Christian McCaffrey. So but this is exactly what you were supposed to do. The Giants horrendous against outside zones, horrendous against the run altogether. This is exactly the type of game that the 49ers needed. So yeah, I mean it was pretty ho hum when it came to running the football, but it was really nice to see like big run after big run, meaning like 8-9 yards.
Yeah, and then I wanted to touch on Brian Robinson, and you mentioned the him maybe getting some more carries. It's currently an 80-20 split between Christian McCaffrey and Brian Robinson, which shouldn't be a surprise. But I think Brian Robinson's maybe the nicest thing I could say about him is he's earned it to maybe we move it a little closer to 70-30. 5 carries for 53 yards, a touchdown, 18-yard run. He has his longest run of the season is longer than Christian McCaffrey's, so maybe a little more explosion. He also has a career high in yards per attempt right now. Obviously, he's not getting as many touches as he's been used to in Washington, but he's moving the ball well. And I almost think that kind of going back to what we talked about earlier this season, Jason, is maybe using McCaffrey more as a receiver, especially with what the receiver situation is. And just getting Robinson on the field more, I don't think it could hurt. And especially considering, I mean, this is completely separate from the offensive side of the ball, but he's been impressive in the return game as well. I mean, he has back-to-back games with pretty big returns. The one right before the half last week against Houston, and then the one to kind of seal the game against the Giants on Sunday. I maybe I'm just overreacting to one game, Jason, but I wouldn't mind seeing Brian Robinson get the ball just a little bit more. He averages 4 carries like per game. Maybe get that up to like 6 or 7 carries per game. I don't feel like that's too big of an ask.
He's no Jordan Mason, I'll tell you that.
He
Yeah,
just
he's
keeps getting
good.
compared to him, man.
Yeah, it's just so funny how everybody cried about all that and it doesn't even matter. Like he can't even crack the starting, he can't even crack the starting rotation without Aaron Jones getting hurt. But we all cried about Jordan Mason. But yeah, he's good. It's just the way that Kyle play calls and the dynamics of being able to have him as a weapon to throw the football to, I think it really he doesn't want to limit what's going on there because if Brian Robinson's on the field, then they're not throwing him the football. Christian McCaffrey's on the field, you can do whatever
Yeah.
you want, and I think that flexibility is something that he kind of craves. And you have a tough time trying to get Christian McCaffrey off the field as well too. He never really tops out, so that's another thing. But yeah, Brian Robinson has been very good, and he's looked very good. So again, it shouldn't just be like to salt games away at the end. Maybe a drive here or there where you're just trying to kill some clock and everything as well too, kind of beat up on the defense. That's where Brian Robinson could thrive.
Yeah, I liked what he offered. As you mentioned though, Jason, the Giants' run defense not very good, so maybe it's a bit of an illusion, but maybe just something. Just as I said, maybe how about 75-25 split? I won't even take the 70-30. Just something better than 80-20.
How many for
This
Kyle
is kind
Juszczyk then?
Oh man, we got those 4th and 1, those 3rd and 1s, man. Got to give him the ball when you have Christian McCaffrey. That's what I've always said, Jason Aponte, is you got to give Kyle Juszczyk more run attempts when you have a guy like Christian McCaffrey. Adam Schefter just tweeted, as expected, Eagles wide receiver AJ Brown has not been and will not be traded by today's deadline. No shit, Sherlock. I didn't think
Right.
that was going to happen. San Francisco receiving. Christian McCaffrey leads the way, 5 receptions for 67 yards. He had the longest reception of the game at 39 yards, pretty much put the game away. Jawan Jennings, 4 receptions for 41 yards and a touchdown. He really needed that game. He's been struggling the past couple of weeks. No mistakes, mistake-free, which I think was very important. Outside of that, Kendrick Bourne, 2 receptions for 34 yards. George Kittle, 4 receptions for 32, and then a bunch of different receivers having 1 reception. Sky Moore, 1 reception for 21,
Yeah.
and Jordan Watkins, 1 reception for 19 that I thought was a very nice catch and throw by both sides. But Jason, what stood out to you most on the receiving aspect of the 49ers game on Sunday?
Well, hello, Juwan Jennings. That's pretty cool. No, they only ran 5 wide receivers in this game, so it was always just going to be either Kittle, McCaffrey, or Juwan Jennings in this game. But it's all it had to be because you were going to be running the football so much. So, yeah, Juwan Jennings had a good game. That looks good. He looks a little bit better. I thought the celebration was pretty good. It's kind of messed
Yep.
up that they didn't let Mac join it, but yeah, I mean, just let's get Ricky Pearsall back, please. Like one day, Like I'm done with this ragtag group of wide receivers of Juwan Jennings, Kendrick Bourne, Demarcus Robinson. Like, can we get Ricky Pearsall on the field, please, one day?
Yeah, Pearsall sounds like he could play Sunday. Sounds like he might not, but hey, that's kind of
He
every
might not
injury
be
update
alive
we've
on
done.
Sunday.
Yep. No, just another receiver note. No practice window this week opened up for Brandon Ayuk, so it'll be at least another week. I'm starting to get the sinking suspicion that we won't see him. We're halfway through, so we'll see what happens. Offensive line. I thought the offensive line handled the Giants pass rush very well. 6 pressures allowed as a team. Colton McKivitz led the way. He got beat on one pretty bad by Brian Burns, but Brian Burns, one of the best pass rushers in the game right now. So not much you could do there. Spencer Burford, he was a surprise start at left guard. He allows a pressure, but the Niners ran. I think, did you tweet it? I saw somebody tweet 8 yards per carry in between
I didn't know.
Burford. I believe it was Jordan Elliott. You were Jordan Elliott. You guys, beautiful people. So I get you guys mixed up. And then Dominic Pooney, he one pressure allowed. Overall, a very solid game against a tough Giants defensive line. I think Brian Burns really carries a bunch of the weight, but they have a few guys that can kind of do their own things. Trent Williams did have a pretty good pancake on Abdul Carter on the Christian McCaffrey touchdown. Have you had a chance to watch the film? And kind of, if you did, what did you see from that offensive line?
Dominic Pooney looked really good. This is like now back to kind of where you want him to be, and it's a good test against this front four. Like the Giants' run defense is bad, but it's not because of the front four. It's because of everybody else behind them. And I like Bobby Okikiri too. Like I think he's good as well too. It's just that they don't have good run fits from the top. They don't have the effort. The only guys that are really playing hard right now are Carter, Thibodeau, and Burns, right? And Okikiri. Everybody else has kind of just mailed it in, including Dexter Lawrence. So, yes, this is a good bounce back game. You know, we'll figure out what's going on with Barch or Burford, but if it does seem like the 49ers are done with the Connor Colby thing and hopefully don't want to put him out there for too much longer. Matt Hennessy was fine, but I thought Dominic Pooney really, really was good in this game, and he looked like himself. And that's a name brand front four that he went up against. So I was really impressed with him.
Yeah, we kind of needed that from Pooney just because of the concerns with his performance. We mentioned his performance this year has been a little more concerning than Trent Williams because Trent Williams is up in that age, and you know what to expect kind of from him. You're expecting kind of a downturn. Where Pooney, he is supposed to be on the trend up. We haven't quite seen it, but a very good performance from him. Niners pass rush, Jason. I was pretty impressed by it. It wasn't the best game, but it was an upgrade from the Houston game. Sam Okawanu, 5 pressures, his second game in 3 games, or 3 games, excuse me, with 5 pressures or more. His second game in 3 games with a sack. He's looked really impressive, especially with the amount of injuries they've had. Michael Williams, he had 3 pressures of his own, 2 hurries. Obviously, the news has come out that he tore his ACL. He's out for the season, which I believe he also had a meniscus in there as well, which just is not a good combination. Robert Bill, Cleveland Farrell with 2. Cleveland Farrell had the play of the game, I think, for the defense on that kind of coming out of nowhere sack on Jackson Dart, which all credit to Jackson Dart. Don't know how he held onto that ball. Keon White in his Niners debut, he had 1 pressure, which I believe was the very first play of the game or the second play of the game where he ran through and then fell. Kyle Shanahan was really complimentary about his ability to pass rush from the middle of the line. So we'll see what that looks like these next couple of games because we are now 11 minutes away from the trade deadline, Jason, and it seems like Keon White and Cleveland Farrell are going to be the 2 additions to this line. What do you think about the Niners pass rush? I mean, the defensive line as a whole.
No, that's not just their only addition. John Lynch is going to walk to the podium and say, "Well, we got a key trade deadline acquisition in Bryce Huff, getting him back. You know, a lot of guys don't get a caliber of a player that that's what they're going to sell." I thought Keon White looked good, man. I thought he from rushing from the inside looked far more comfortable. You just didn't remember like we were talking, and this is why it's important to watch the film. On the instant reaction, I said, "Did he even play?" It's hard to gauge all that going on when you're in the stadium or you're watching. Like it's not. As easy as all that, but he looked great, and his pass rush, in true pass sets, I believe it was a 33% win rate. That's really good if you don't know. And Cleveland Farrell is just gonna be like again a steady guy right there, set the edge. Like he's gonna be the new Michael now because that's literally what they have him for. So fortunately for Michael, he actually had 2 pressures in this game, looked good. Yeah, Keon White looks good, and they're gonna sell to us that Yetur Gross-Matos' injury is not that bad, and Bryce Huff is going to be back on Thursday, and you're getting Ricky Pearsall back, and those are your trade deadline acquisitions.
I like a positive spin on the trade deadline right now. I like it, Jason Aponte, and it is true because Bryce Huff is a big addition, especially with how much going on. You have a front four of Sam Okawanu, Keon White, Cleveland Farrell, and Bryce Huff, and obviously Jordan Elliott and Alfred Collins and all of them. They're gonna factor into all of it. Let's move on to the linebackers, Jason. Ho hum, another big Tatum Bethune week in replacement of Fred Warner, 16 tackles, 8 solo. D. Winters adds 5 tackles of his own. Niners linebackers are just good at football, man. I think at this point, Jason, they could put us in linebacker numbers and throw us at linebacker, and we'd be able to produce. That's how good the Niners are now.
Absolutely
You don't
not.
like that idea? You're a
Absolutely
receiver.
not.
You're a
Absolutely.
receiver, so I
I'm
guess it
nothing.
makes sense.
I don't want nothing. I don't want anybody to touch me. Don't touch me.
but just a solid game, and I mean we're just kind of used to it at this point. Niners linebackers being good, and that's why with the whole Wilson rumors with the Bengals, it just never made sense to me because the Niners have always felt comfortable with their linebacker position. No need to really force anything there, especially with how well they've drafted. And both, I mean, technically, I guess Fred Warner is a drafted guy. He's obviously established himself as a top guy. But Tatum Bethune and D. Winters are both guys that have been drafted recently and now are making an impact. What did you think of their games?
Yeah, Bethune, man, I wasn't worried, man, and maybe I was going just off of one game, but when I watched him in Tampa Bay, I just realized that this is a guy who is just exactly like how Fred was early on. He's always going to be in the right spot at the right time, and he's always at the bottom of the pile. That continues, man. And if you're wondering why Nick Martin is not going to see the field, is because who's he supposed to play over? Like he's not going to play over Bethune, and he's not going to play over D. Winters. So where's he going to play? And they're not in base that much. So Luke Gifford will come on the field for a little bit, and that's it. So it's a good thing, right? Like when you're down this far, when you're down all the way down to Tatum Bethune, like, and you're still saying, hey, you know what? You're getting very good linebacker play. He's really good. The 49ers are really good at developing linebackers, and it was pretty easy to see that he wasn't gonna struggle at this level when he stepped in.
Let's move on to the secondary. Jason, a solid game. Renardo Green, Diamador Lenore doing their thing at cornerback. I do want to ask Jason, do we have our two safeties now in Malik Mustafa and Jair Brown? Because it feels like Jair Brown's kind of worked his way back into the lineup. He had a pretty nice pass breakup on the Sterling Shepard play in the end zone.
Sterling Shepard.
So what did I say?
Wan'Dale Robinson?
Was it Wan'Dale Robinson? One of the two. I apologize. He had a pass breakup in the end zone. How about that? Yeah. But do you think that's the two safeties the rest of the way?
I mean, at this point, it has to be, right? And if you're talking about bounce back games, I mean, after giving up all the yards, Jair Brown gave up 8 yards and Malik Mustafa gave up 9 yards. I don't know how you get any better than that, right? And in coverage grade, Jair Brown was second, 75.8. Malik was right behind him, 70.5. Renardo Green's been excellent. I think nobody's talking about it. 1 reception allowed, 6 yards. A little bit concerned about Upton Stout, man. 6 for 6, 53 yards. And then Diamador Lenore, man, 2 for 33 and a touchdown. Perfect passer rating allowed. Those games aren't, typical like that, but Renardo Green has been playing very well. He stacked like 3 straight games like this, and I know it's hard to sift through everything after last week with Houston, but Brown and Mustafa look good today. I mean, look good on Sunday, so, we'll see. But I do hesitate to, like, crown them right off the rip because of who they were playing. Right, yeah. Like they didn't really have anybody who can like test you downfield. Darius Slayton's not that good. Jalen Hyatt can't play football. Like they didn't have anybody who could really take the top off the defense. So, yes, that's interesting and that's a good thing that they played that well. But let's see you do it again against the Los Angeles Rams this week when everybody's back and Puka's back and the way Matthew Stafford's been playing. So that'll be more interesting to me.
My question with Upton Stout is what is your take on him so far? Because he's had some issues in coverage, obviously, but I feel like I see him making a lot of big tackles. He's in the backfield a lot. How do you think the Niners manage that? Is this something where he's giving so much in the run game around the line of scrimmage where it's like, hey, he's a rookie, he's gonna have his bumps and bruises in coverage, and they're just fine with it? Where do you stand personally with Upton Stout?
Yeah, I think it's a mixed bag. I think sometimes it's not necessarily that I see him getting singled out, right? Like, and it's like singling him up. It's where he's playing in the zone and the ball goes by him. So the way that PFF charts the coverage grades is a little weird, right? They're going to charge you with a target, but you were in the zone and the guy just happened to run through your zone, right? Like it wasn't necessarily that you were one-on-one manned up over him, right? And another example I'll give is if you're in the slot, right? if you're in the slot and you fall to a hook spot, or it's like a cover three, and that receiver runs down the field all the way down and catches the pass, the person that was over the wide receiver is the one who gets charged. So I think it's a give and take with that. With PFF, it really is a little weird sometimes, but that's why you have to watch the games. I do think it's like not as big of a deal as like, it's not, again, like they're singling out, they're like, where's 20, let's go right at him. It's a little bit of that. Sometimes they have an advantageous matchup, they're taking advantage of it. Sometimes they're just throwing the football into his zone. Sometimes it's one of those wonky PFF plays where they're just like, yeah, now though the ball was thrown 40 yards down the field over his head where he was standing, in the flat.
And then I do want to ask Renardo Green, because he's been dealing with some injuries here and there.
Mhm.
I feel like some people have been a little tough on him, but I think he's been solid this season. So what has he been doing this year, Jason, that's really jumped out to you? Because I feel like he's been fine at minimum.
Yeah, at first it was really like, hey, because we believe so much in Renardo Green, we're gonna leave him out there, and we don't care. We'll take our chances whether he gets beat over the top or whatever. That's fine. But now I don't know what's going on, and I do kind of want to attribute it to, like, yeah, the Houston Texans, wide receivers weren't exactly imposing, but he still played well. Same thing with the Giants. Like, this week is going to be a big week for the secondary, trying to figure out what they really are. But he's been playing very well. Like, he's not allowing the catches. They're not throwing at him. It's a lot of things. So he's just been a lot more sticky in coverage. It feels like maybe he's gotten over those injuries and he has confidence in his legs and everything as well too. But Renardo Green over the last 3 weeks has been very good.
So Jason, the Niners moved to 6-3. They have a very big NFC West matchup against the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday, this time at Santa Clara. The Niners can really help themselves quite a bit with a win there. I think it's gonna be a tougher matchup than the game down in SoFi. I feel like the Rams are a team that's been rolling in recent weeks. Puka Nacua has been dealing with some injury issues, but we'll see what happens, Jason. I don't know if it's going to be as well. Obviously, it wasn't easy last time. It was an overtime win, but I don't think it's one of those where you can sit here and say, well, the Niners won last time. They should be fine. But we'll see what it looks like come Sunday, Jason. Obviously, we'll have a preview of that. We are 3 minutes away from the NFL trade deadline.
But remember, if something doesn't come in at 4, that doesn't mean that so you have to wait. There's still things that there's I don't think they're going to trade for anybody at this point either, but you still have to wait until about like 25-30 minutes after before you can really find out, because they'll always say, hey, listen, this is something that just came through, right? Like, so let's everybody chill out. Like, I mean, honestly, again, I didn't want you guys to be sad, because two teams have to agree to something. Just because I want a pass rusher from your team doesn't mean that you are under any sort of obligation to give that pass rusher to me for nothing, right? Like, I floated the idea that I would think that the Cleveland Browns should trade Myles Garrett to us and pick up the contract. That's fair. If I was the Browns, I would do that for the 49ers. Like, it's just, again, like, you don't know what these teams are asking, right? If they're asking for a second for Jermaine Johnson off an Achilles, no thank you. If they're asking for something a little too high for Bradley Chubb, who's off of an ACL, no thank you, right? Like, I still would rather hold on to the picks, because the 49ers have to address so many things, including pass rush, again next year. And, and again, look, Hendrickson, right? Let's say this. Hendrickson, they want a first-round pick. Nobody's giving him a first-round pick. Like, that's not going to happen. And I see Jack saying Eagles make it work. The Eagles trade like 6-rounders for like some of these guys, or like a pick swap. Like, they're not going after big names. So it's not the same thing at all. Like, they're not trading for Trey Hendrickson and giving a 6-round pick. They got like an edge rusher for like a 6-7 pick swap. Like, it's not, like, it's not the same thing at all. Like, if you're talking about the targets that we're talking about, the Eagles wouldn't be in on that right now, because they don't have the need like that. But they're in no rush to give up 2nd-round picks or anything like that. So again, it does take 2 to tango. So I don't want you to get upset, because that team is under no obligation to trade any player that we want to us. If that was the case, then it's like Madden. We just turn the trades off. We just turn the trade things off, and we're just like, okay, Jets, we'll take Garrett Wilson and Quentin Williams and this guy, and we'll give you, our long snapper and this guy, and, and have fun. Like, it's not like that.
Paul Kaharski tweeted, no further deals for the Titans. They are finished. So the Arden Key trade probably not happening for the 49ers, the one that Jason and I have been trying to push to happen. And I think things look significantly different, Jason, if the 49ers had Fred Warner and Nick Bosa still. I think that completely changes how this trade deadline looks for the Niners. But right now, they kind of you got to recognize what the situation is with this defense, and if there's anybody out there who can really change the look of this defense. And outside of like Trey Hendrickson, which
There
again,
you
I'm
go.
not
Look,
giving up.
4 o'clock.
Oh,
The trades are still coming in. The Saints have traded Trevor Penning to the Chargers.
yep. So
Yep.
it
So
is.
it's you gotta wait. You gotta wait. You don't know what's going on.
The deadline has passed, so now it's just coming down to deals that are agreed upon before the 1 o'clock deadline, Jason. So we'll see if anything trickles through. But yeah, unless it was a Max Crosby or a Myles Garrett, which are two players who were never going to get traded, Jason, the Niners weren't going to make a move. And Jalen Phillips acquired for a third by the Eagles. That's fine, but Jalen Phillips wasn't going to change the outlook of
No,
this defense.
and less
And
than that.
I even had a Dolphins fan, Albert, one of my best friends. He told me that he thinks we'd rather want Chubb than Phillips, because Phillips, he says he misses a lot of sacks, and so I don't know. I wasn't huge on Phillips, and if the Eagles wanted to get him, that's fine. I'm sure he'll be fine in Philadelphia. But to me, it's not a move that necessarily moves the needle.
No, and them sending a third for a player that they can afford, like that he blew out his leg in college in an accident on a scooter. You know that he blew out his leg in the NFL again, right? Like, for a third-round pick, no thank you. But the Eagles can take that chance because they're loaded everywhere else. Jalen Phillips for a third-round pick would have been malpractice, and it wouldn't have changed anything about the 49ers. And he would have got here, and he would have absolutely played 0 snaps. So it's just like, it's not the same thing at all. Like, they're in a different position than the 49ers. And if the 49ers would have traded a third-round pick for a guy whose legs have been blown out like that many times, you wouldn't have been happy. And you know exactly what would have happened when he got here is he would have already been in the tent. Like, it's not the same thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and even too, like the Jermaine Johnson, I see a lot of people want Jermaine Johnson, but he's coming off an Achilles injury. He's missed 4 games this season with an ankle injury, and yeah, in theory, his 7.5 sacks in 2022 sounds great, but he's dealt with injuries these past few years. And Jason, I don't know if you've heard this, the Niners have a lot of injury issues themselves, so why give up a potential second-round pick to get a Jermaine Johnson who's been injured the past couple of years? It's tough. Bradley Chubb, like, he's a name that maybe 2 years ago when he was a Bronco, you're more excited for, but he's not somebody who's going to make you feel better about this defense at this point. And I as much as I was somebody who I wanted the Niners to make a move, I'm just somebody who likes when teams make moves to make moves. I just like seeing, I get the rush when the Ian Rappaport notification pops up. It's like, oh man, maybe it's my team. But it really comes down to, this season was always about prepping for the future. And that's why this defense is a bunch of rookies, right? That's why this defense is so many rookies, is because it was about building this team for 2026 and beyond. The Niners weren't necessarily going to make a big splash and sacrifice big draft picks for a guy like Trey Hendrickson. I mean, if you could have gotten Trey Hendrickson for like a second or a third, like, sure, why not? But not a first round pick, especially where the Niners are at right now. They need as many picks as they can get. So it makes sense. It makes sense that the Niners, it looks like they're standing pat. Maybe something kind of trickles in here in the next couple of minutes, but we'll find out. Nothing too surprising.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I would have thought about the Bradley Chubb thing. Like, that's something that I would have been fine with. But again, he's another guy that's injury, but it's a 1-year thing. I still think the 49ers will probably just address this with whoever's a free agent, for whoever's a free agent, edge rusher like Shaq Barrett, something like that. Just somebody who will be able to fill in. But I can almost guarantee you that John Lynch is going to go to the podium and say, yeah, we're getting Bryce Huff back. We got Keon White. We got Cleveland Ferrell. Those are our acquisitions at the deadline. We have Ricky Pearsall coming back and Brock's coming back. These are great acquisitions at the deadline, and Brandon Ayuk might play soon. Like, that's exactly how they're going to spin it. So, is what it is. But again, like, I'm okay with them not sending out picks that they should be using next year for, different positions. You guys want O-line? Okay, well then you're giving away a second-round pick that could be used on O-line, or a first-round pick that could be used on O-line. Like, there has to be a give and a take. And do you think the 49ers are that close to winning a Super Bowl by trading for like a Bradley Chubb? I don't know. I don't think so, just to be frank. I don't think so. So that's the thing. It's like, it's risk and reward. For me, I'm not really upset. I'm not really upset about this at all.
Jordan Schultz just tweeted the Jets are not trading Breece Hall, Quincy Williams, and Jermaine Johnson per sources. Offers weren't good enough for them. So there's another name off the table for the 49ers. So Jermaine Johnson will not be a Niner, which again, I think is fine, is considering his injury issues. Despite getting calls for Jalen Waddle and Bradley Chubb, the Dolphins did not make another deal before the deadline and opted to hold on to both. So there's another name. So we've already lost Arden Key, Jermaine Johnson, Bradley Chubb. Who's left? Probably Trey Hendrickson, but I have a gut feeling that the Bengals are holding on to him as well. So yeah, it appears, Jason, that the 49ers are standing pat at the deadline, and I don't think that's a huge deal. I don't think that's that bad of a thing.
Yeah, I'm not upset. I just think it is what it is right now. So you just go to war with the guys that you got. It sucks after the Mykel Williams thing, but don't let something like that make you make a rash decision, right? Everybody wants more O-line. Okay, so where are you gonna pick with these O-line picks if you're trading away your picks for a rental, right? Maybe somebody who might not even play. Like all these risks have to be calculated, and they have to be in the mold of what the plan is for next year. So for me, I'd rather stick with where you are right now, hold on to those picks, see if you can get some development out of the guys that you drafted, God forbid, right? Like maybe Alfred Collins should play a lot more, maybe make CJ West active on game days. Like this is fine, and for me, I'm not as mad because if you send away a pick that's too high up for somebody who either has been injured or is going to be ineffective, and then with that pick, you see that team took an offensive lineman, you'd really just throw your arms up, right? Like, so for me, I'd rather just stock as many picks as possible, and try to run it back next year.
I like Jack Duncan's comment. Hear me out. We were a Solomon Thomas.
Scored a touchdown last night.
Hey man, respect it.
Scored a touchdown last night. Put some respect on Solomon Thomas. Scored a touchdown last night, dressed like a Jedi, and Javon Kinlaw blocked Jake Moody. So those guys are flourishing somewhere else.
It really seems like, Jason, the Niners have not made a deal. Nothing's really come out. Nobody said they're done for the day yet. I don't think this is exactly like a Major League Baseball trade deadline where you get every beat writer saying, "Oh, Niners stood pat, Giants stood pat," whatever. But it very much seems like the Niners are standing pat. Which again, as you said, Jason, the big trade. We'll spin it like this: "Oh, the big acquisition, Bryce Huff." There it is, Jason. The Niners got him. Bryce Huff, and that's how we're running.
No, that's literally what John Lynch is going to go to the podium and tell you, like that. Like you're joking, but that's what dead ass going to say.
He's going to. So Jason, we'll wrap up thoughts here because as I said, we'll give it a couple more minutes just in case. But we'll start wrapping up here, getting out of here. You want to talk about what's going on the channel the rest of the week, rest of the day?
Oh yeah, bully ball tonight. Me and Steph at 8:00. Oh god, man, it's been a long weekend, man. I'm still not back to normal. Like God forbid that this team. Well, this team's gonna be back here again next year. So, man, just no more. Like, don't visit here anymore, Niners, man. This is too much. The whole entire weekend is just too long. But yeah, that's what's going on today. And then tomorrow's my birthday, so I'm not doing anything on the channel. So
I love it. Everybody hear that. So make sure you wish Jason Aponte a very happy birthday because that's an important day. That's an important day for everybody. You want to talk? Welcome to Derry for about 3 seconds here.
I haven't watched the second episode, man. I've been since I got back from the game on Sunday. I've been sleeping like for like a day and a half. For a day and a half. Ask Ariel for a day and a half straight. For a day and a half straight, yo. Poor Steph. We took her to Elizabeth, New Jersey. Took her to a chicken spot. Then we were out all night, and then we went back out to the tailgate. And when I got home, oh man, I'm cooked. Shout out to Ariel though. It's good to see my boy or whatever. We spent a lot of time this weekend, but I'm washed right now, bro. I don't want this team to come back here anymore. Don't come back here anymore.
Sleepy Jason Aponte like sleepy John Lynch today at the trade deadline. I like it.
Good
little thing. Good little theme. How'd Steph handle it? Good?
No, Ariel says I'm still exhausted. I agree. Poor Steph. So the day of the game, Steph stayed here, so she was sleeping on my couch, and we both made an agreement to get up at 7:30 to figure out what's going on with the tailgate before we go to the game. And I got up at 7:30, used the bathroom real quick, and I was like, "Listen, I'm gonna go lay back down for a few more minutes because I just need some more sleep." A few more minutes turned into 3 hours, and poor Steph was out there. Yeah, poor Steph was out there just like on her phone and everything. And I was like, "Hey, you ready to go?" She was like, "I've been ready," and I was just like, "All right, well, let's get out of here." So, but she did good, but it was a long weekend, man. I didn't know that there were that many 49ers parties around here, man. It was just so many, like between the invasion and then John Chapman's thing, and then Ariel found one in Elizabeth, like, and then we watched Game 7 there. Like, it's been a long weekend, man. I'm tired, dude.
Tired, Jason. Long weekend. We'll get you out of here. Get some rest because you got more content to create, Jason. We'll be back on Friday previewing 49ers Rams. Going to be a massive matchup. That dog cloner Tom Brady is going to be on the broadcast.
That's crazy.
So I hate that, man. Millionaires and billionaires got to be stopped, man. That's my takeaway from that headline. If we're at a point where we're cloning dogs, you got too much money, but that's okay. If I hear about that clone dog on Sunday, him talking about it, I'm gonna be sick, Jason Aponte, sick to my stomach. But it's gonna be Niners Rams on Sunday. It'll be a fun one, man. It's always a fun week, rivalry weekend for both teams. So we'll have fun. I already see Rod in here talking his shit with the Rams and Marketing Pro and all of them. I'm excited for all of them to be in the chat on Friday. So we'll be back then. Jason Aponte, as always.
Let's go Niners. Please don't come back to MetLife.
Let's go Niners. Bam.
Bam.
Bam.